Josiah Mercer dropped into his knees in the frozen hay. His hands trembled as he lifted the burlap sack. A face stared back at him. Hollow cheeks, sunken eyes. But he knew those eyes. He'd dreamed of them every night for 4 years. "Papa," she whispered. "They told me you stopped looking." His daughter. His Emmeline. Alive. Josiah couldn't breathe. Couldn't speak. He pulled her into his arms and wept like he hadn't wept since the day they told him she was dead. If you want to know how she survived and who lied to him, subscribe now and stay until the end. Comment your city, so I can see how far this story travels. The morning Josiah Mercer buried his hope was colder than any he could remember. 4 years ago, the sheriff had ridden out to his ranch with a letter. Official seal. Typed words. His daughter Emmeline had been found dead in a river outside Denver. Body unrecoverable. Case closed. Josiah had read that letter 17 times. Then he'd folded it, put it in his wife's Bible, and never opened it again. Now he stood in his barn, 56 years old, staring at the face of a ghost. "Emmeline." His voice cracked on the second syllable. "Don't cry, Papa." She reached up with a hand so thin he could see the bones beneath her skin. "Please don't cry." 4 years. He couldn't stop the tears. "They told me you were dead. They told me—" "I know what they told you." Her voice was hoarse, barely more than a whisper. "They lied." Josiah pulled back just enough to look at her, really look. She was 22 now, but she looked older. Her dress was torn in 3 places. Her boots were held together with rope. And her eyes, those eyes that used to sparkle with mischief, were flat and hollow. "Who did this to you?" She shook her head. "Not yet. Please. I need water, and I need to see the children." The children. Josiah's heart seized. "Emmeline, I need to tell you something. They're here, aren't they?" She tried to stand, but her legs gave out. Josiah caught her. "Please, Papa. I walked 300 miles to get back to them. I need to see them. They're here. They're safe. But Emmeline, then take me to them." Josiah looked at his daughter, at the desperation in her eyes, and made a decision. The questions could wait. Everything could wait. "Can you walk? I'll crawl if I have to." He lifted her like she weighed nothing, because she nearly did. He carried her out of the barn across the frozen yard toward the cabin where 5 children waited for a mother they'd been told was never coming home. The door opened and warmth rushed out. Martha Grayson, Josiah's neighbor, and the woman who'd been helping him raise the children for 4 years stood in the doorway with a wooden spoon in her hand. "Josiah, breakfast is almost—" She stopped. The spoon clattered to the floor. "Lord in heaven." "Get the children," Josiah said. "Get them now." "Josiah, is that—" "Get them." Martha turned and ran into the house. Josiah carried Emmeline inside, kicking the door shut behind him. He set her down in the chair by the fire, the same chair where his wife had died, where he'd sat alone for so many years. Emmeline grabbed his hand. "Are they okay? Did anyone hurt them?" "They're okay. They're healthy." "Do they remember me?" Josiah didn't answer. The truth was, the youngest 2 didn't remember her at all, and the older 3 had been told she was dead. "Papa, do they remember me? Emmeline." Footsteps thundered across the floor. A boy appeared first, 8 years old, with Emmeline's dark hair and his father's gray eyes. He skidded to a stop. "Who's that?" Emmeline made a sound, half sob, half laugh. "William. Oh, William, you're so tall now." The boy's face went white. "Grandpa, who is this lady?" "William." Josiah knelt beside the chair. "This is your mother." "My mother's dead." "No, sweetheart." Emmeline reached for him. "No, I'm not. I'm right here. I'm alive." William backed away, his eyes wide with fear. "Grandpa, you said she was dead. You showed me the letter. You said I was wrong." Josiah's voice broke. William, I was wrong. Someone lied to us. But she's here now. She's home. The boy looked from his grandfather to the woman in the chair. His lip trembled. Mama! Yes, baby. It's me. William threw himself at her. Emmeline caught him, pulling him onto her lap, burying her face in his hair. She was crying. He was crying. And Josiah stood there, watching his heart cracking open in a way he hadn't thought possible. More footsteps. A girl, this time 6 years old, with blonde curls and a face full of freckles. Grandpa, why is William crying? Who's that lady? Hannah, come here. The girl walked over slowly, her thumb in her mouth. She studied Emmeline with the careful suspicion of a child who'd learned not to trust. Hannah. Emmeline's voice was barely audible. You were so small when I left. You were only 2. You wouldn't remember. I don't know you. I know, sweetheart. I know. But I'm your mother. Hannah's eyes went to Josiah. Grandpa? It's true, Hannah. This is your mama. The girl didn't move. Didn't speak. Just stared. Martha appeared in the doorway with the remaining 3 children. A boy of 5, a girl of 4, and a toddler of 3, balanced on her hip. None of them remembered Emmeline at all. Emmeline, Martha said softly. You're alive. Barely. Emmeline looked at the children, and tears streamed down her face. Thomas, you were 3 when I left. And Lucy, you were just learning to walk. And the baby, her voice failed. The baby wasn't even born yet. The toddler, a little girl named Sarah, buried her face in Martha's shoulder. She doesn't know me. Emmeline's voice was hollow. My own baby doesn't know me. She will, Josiah said. Give her time. Give them all time. Papa, they told me my children were dead. Emmeline looked up at him, and now there was something else in her eyes. Anger, raw and burning. They told me a fire took the ranch. They told me everyone was gone. That's why I didn't come back sooner. That's why I... She stopped, her jaw clenching. Who told you this? Josiah felt cold spreading through his chest. Who told you we were dead? The same people who kept me prisoner for 4 years. Emmeline's hands curled into fists. The same people who told you I was dead. Who? Before she could answer, a knock came at the door. Everyone froze. The knock came again. Harder this time. More insistent. Josiah straightened. He looked at Martha. Take the children to the back room. Josiah. Now. Martha gathered the children, herding them toward the back of the cabin. William refused to move. I'm not leaving her. William. I'm not leaving my mother again. Josiah looked at the boy, saw the determination in his eyes, and nodded. Stay behind me. He walked to the door and opened it. A man stood on the porch. Tall, thin, wearing a suit too fine for this territory. Behind him stood 2 other men, rougher armed. Mr. Mercer. The man in the suit tipped his hat. I'm looking for someone. A woman. Young, dark hair, might be injured. Have you seen her? Josiah's hand moved to the rifle leaning against the wall. Who's asking? My name is Aldridge. Cornelius Aldridge. I represent certain business interests in Denver. Never heard of you. I wouldn't expect you to. Aldridge smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. The woman I'm looking for, she's dangerous, unstable, escaped from an institution where she was receiving treatment. For her own safety and the safety of others, she needs to be returned. What institution? A private facility for women suffering from hysteria and delusions. Josiah's grip tightened on the rifle. Sounds like you lost a prisoner, not a patient. Aldridge's smile flickered. I assure you, Mr. Mercer, she is very ill. She may have told you things, stories, wild accusations. You must understand these are symptoms of her condition. What kind of stories? That she was kidnapped, that she was held against her will, that people told lies about her death. Aldridge shook his head sadly. The poor thing truly believes it all. And what if it's true? I beg your pardon. Josiah stepped forward. What if every word she said is true? What if you did kidnap her? What if you did tell her family she was dead? Mr. Mercer, I'm a respected businessman. I don't engage in, get off my land. The two armed men moved forward, but Aldridge held up a hand. There's no need for hostility. I'm simply trying to help a troubled young woman. You're trying to take my daughter. The mask slipped, just for a moment. Aldridge's eyes went cold and his jaw tightened. Your daughter is dead, Mr. Mercer. The letter was quite clear. The letter was a lie. Was it? Aldridge tilted his head. Or is the woman in your house the one lying? How do you know she's really your daughter? How do you know this isn't some confidence scheme? A stranger shows up, claims to be your long-lost child, and suddenly you're ready to defend her with your life. I know my own daughter. Do you? After 4 years, she was 18 when she left. She's a grown woman now. People change, Mr. Mercer. They become unrecognizable. Aldridge stepped closer, lowering his voice. She could be anyone. She could be dangerous. She could be putting your grandchildren at risk right now. William. Josiah didn't take his eyes off Aldridge. Come here. The boy stepped out from behind his grandfather, his chin high. Tell me, Josiah said, is that woman in there your mother? William looked at Aldridge with something like contempt. She has a scar on her left hand. She got it when I was 4 cutting apples for a pie. She always sang Shenandoah when she put me to sleep. And she calls me my little wolf because I used to howl at the moon when I was a baby. Aldridge's face went carefully blank. She told me things. William continued, his voice shaking with anger, that only my mother would know. So yes, mister, that woman in there is my mother. And if you try to take her, I'll kill you myself. William. Josiah put a hand on the boy's shoulder. That's enough. But Grandpa. I said that's enough. Josiah looked at Aldridge. You heard the boy. Now get off my land before I stop being polite. Aldridge studied them both for a long moment. Then he stepped back, his smile returning cold, calculating. Very well, Mr. Mercer. I can see you're not in a reasonable frame of mind. Perhaps after you've had time to consider the situation, you'll realize that returning her is in everyone's best interest. There's nothing to consider. There's always something to consider. Aldridge tipped his hat. We'll speak again soon. Good day. He turned and walked back to his horse. The two armed men followed, throwing dark looks over their shoulders. They mounted up and rode away, disappearing over the rise. Josiah stood on the porch until they were gone. Then he went back inside and bolted the door. Emmeline was standing by the window watching the riders leave. That was him, she said quietly. Cornelius Aldridge. He runs the facility where they kept me. What facility? They call it a hospital for women. Emmeline's voice was bitter. Women who are inconvenient. Women whose husbands want to remarry. Women whose families want their money. Women who know too much. Emmeline, what happened to you? Start from the beginning. She turned from the window and sat down heavily. William immediately moved to her side, taking her hand. You remember Daniel, the man I left with? Josiah's jaw tightened. I remember. He wasn't who I thought he was. He wasn't who anyone thought he was. Emmeline stared at the floor. He was charming, kind. He promised me the world. He said we'd make our fortune in Denver. He said the children could come once we were settled. But 3 months after we arrived, everything changed. He started leaving at night, coming home smelling like whiskey and perfume. When I confronted him, he hit me. She touched her cheek as if remembering. First time anyone ever hit me. Wasn't the last. I'll kill him. He's already dead. Emmeline's voice was flat. Gambling debt. Someone put a bullet in him 2 years ago. Good. I thought so too. I thought I was free. But then Aldridge came. She looked at Josiah with eyes that had seen too much. Daniel owed him money, a lot of money, and Aldridge decided I was going to pay it off. How? The facility. He sends wealthy men there. Men looking for... She stopped, her face twisting with disgust. Looking for company, women who can't say no, women who can't leave. Josiah felt sick. Emmeline, I survived Papa. Her voice hardened. I did what I had to do, but I never stopped fighting. I never stopped planning. And 3 weeks ago, I finally got out. 3 weeks. You've been traveling for 3 weeks. Mostly on foot. I stole a horse at first, but she died outside of Cheyenne. I've been walking since. Through the mountains in winter. I had to get home. Her eyes filled with tears. I had to see my children. I had to tell you the truth. Josiah pulled her into his arms. She was shaking now, all the strength she'd forced herself to maintain finally crumbling. I thought you were all dead, she whispered. I thought I had nothing left. And then I saw the smoke from your chimney. I saw the cabin still standing. I snuck into the barn to sleep just for one night, and then you found me. You're home now. Josiah held her tighter. You're safe. No one's taking you anywhere. Papa, you don't understand. Aldridge won't stop. He has connections. Money, power. He's not going to let me go. Then I'll make him. He has men, guns. So do I. Emmeline pulled back and looked at him. Papa, I won't let you die for me. And I won't let anyone hurt you again. Josiah's voice was steady, certain. I failed you once, Emmeline. I let you walk out that door with a man I didn't trust because I was too proud to admit I was scared. I let you go, and I spent 4 years believing you were dead. I am not making that mistake again. It wasn't your fault. Some of it was. He cupped her face in his hands, his daughter, his firstborn, alive against all odds. But that's done now. What matters is this moment, this family, and anyone who tries to tear it apart again will have to go through me. William stepped forward. And me. Martha appeared in the doorway, the other children behind her. And me. Emmeline looked at them all, her father, her son, the woman who'd helped raise her children, the brothers and sisters who didn't know her yet, and something shifted in her face. Hope. Fragile and uncertain, but there. What do we do? She asked. Josiah let go of her and walked to the window. He looked out at the horizon where Aldridge had disappeared. First, we prepare. Food, water, ammunition. Enough to hold out if they come back in force. You think they will? A man like that doesn't make threats he can't keep. Josiah turned to Martha. I need you to ride to town. Talk to Sheriff Brennan. Tell him what happened. Tell him who Aldridge is and what he's done. Martha nodded. I'll leave within the hour. Take the back trail. Avoid the main road. If you see anyone suspicious, turn around and come back. Understood. Josiah looked at his daughter. You need to eat. Rest. Get your strength back. Whatever's coming, you'll need to be ready. I don't want to rest. I want to fight. You can't fight if you collapse. He softened his voice. Emmeline, you walked 300 miles through the snow. You escaped from hell. You've done enough for now. Let me carry the weight for a while. Her lip trembled. I don't know how to stop. I know, but you're going to have to learn. He gestured to the children still clustered in the doorway. They need their mother, not a soldier, not a survivor. Their mother. Can you do that? Emmeline looked at the children. Thomas, Lucy. Sarah, the 3 who didn't know her. William and Hannah, the 2 who did, but barely. 5 small faces, 5 small lives, waiting for her. She took a shaking breath. I can try. That's all I ask. Josiah walked to the back room and opened a trunk that hadn't been touched in years. Inside lay his wife's clothes, dresses, shawls, boots. He brought an armful back to Emmeline. "These were your mother's. They should fit." Emmeline touched the fabric with trembling fingers. "Papa, I can't." "She would want you to have them." Josiah's voice was rough. "She would want you to be warm, safe, home." Emmeline clutched the dress to her chest and began to cry. Not the desperate sobs of before, but something quieter, deeper, the kind of tears that came from finally letting go. William put his arms around her. Hannah stepped closer, her small hand resting on her mother's knee. And slowly, hesitantly, the younger children crept forward, drawn by some instinct they didn't yet understand. Thomas sat on the floor at her feet. Lucy leaned against her side, and little Sarah the baby, who didn't know her at all, toddled over and patted her hand. "Sad?" Sarah asked. Emmeline laughed through her tears. "Not anymore, sweetheart. Not anymore." Martha left within the hour, riding hard for town. Josiah spent the afternoon reinforcing the cabin. He boarded up the back windows, moved the heavy furniture against the door, and positioned his rifles where he could reach them quickly. William helped asking questions that Josiah answered honestly. "Are the bad men coming back?" "Maybe." "Are you scared?" Josiah looked at his grandson. "A little, but fear isn't the problem. What you do with it is. What do you do with yours? Turn it into action." Josiah handed him a box of ammunition. "Put these by the window, the one facing the road." "Yes, sir." By nightfall, the cabin was as secure as Josiah could make it. The children ate supper around the fire, and for the first time in 4 years, the room felt full. Emmeline sat in the chair, Sarah asleep in her lap. Hannah leaned against her legs, finally warming to the stranger, who was also her mother. Thomas was asking questions, endless wonderful questions about where she'd been and what she'd seen. "Did you see any bears?" "One, from a distance." "Was it scary?" "Very." "Did it try to eat you?" "It thought about it, but I made myself look big and scary, and it decided I wasn't worth the trouble." Thomas grinned. "I want to see a bear." "Maybe someday, when you're bigger." Josiah watched from the corner, his rifle across his lap. He should have been worried. Aldridge was out there planning his next move. Danger was circling like wolves around a campfire. But watching his daughter with her children, hearing their voices, filled the silence that had haunted this cabin for so long. He felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the peace of safety or certainty, the peace of purpose, the peace of knowing exactly what he was fighting for. "Papa?" Emmeline's voice cut through his thoughts. "You should sleep. I'll keep watch. You need rest more than I do. I've spent 4 years sleeping with one eye open. Another night won't hurt." She met his eyes across the room. "Besides, I'm not sure I can sleep. Not yet. Not when—" She didn't finish, but Josiah understood. Not when she might wake up and find it was all a dream. Not when she might open her eyes and be back in that place. "All right." He stood, stretching his aching joints. "Wake me at midnight. We'll trade off." "Thank you, Papa, for everything." "You don't have to thank me." "I know, but I want to." She looked at the children now scattered around her like planets around a sun. "I thought I'd never see them again. I thought I'd die in that place. And here I am, in Mama's dress, in Mama's chair, with my babies around me." Her voice broke. "I never stopped praying for this. Even when I couldn't feel God listening, I kept praying. And now—" She wiped her eyes. "Now I don't know if I believe it's real." Josiah walked over and kissed the top of her head. "It's real, and so is what comes next. Aldridge, the fight, all of it. But we'll face it together, as a family." Emmeline reached up and squeezed his hand. "As a family," she repeated. The first gunshot came at midnight. Josiah was on his feet before the echo-faded rifle in hand. Emmeline moved fast, scooping up Sarah and pushing the other children toward the back room. "Stay down. Don't make a sound." William grabbed the pistol Josiah had given him. "I'm staying." "William, I'm staying." Another shot. This one hit the door, splintering the wood. Josiah positioned himself by the front window and peered through a crack in the boards. He could see figures in the darkness. 5, maybe 6. Spread out using the barn for cover. Mercer. Aldridge's voice carried across the frozen yard. You had your chance to be reasonable. Now we do this the hard way. Josiah didn't answer. He was counting. Calculating. The odds weren't good, but they weren't impossible either. Send her out and we'll leave you and the children alone. You have my word. Your word isn't worth the air it takes to say it, Josiah called back. Perhaps not, but consider your options. You're one man. You have 5 grandchildren in there. Can you really protect them all? Josiah looked back at William standing ready with his pistol. At Emmeline crouched by the back room door, her body shielding the entrance. I reckon I can try, he said. And then the night exploded into chaos. I'll craft a narrative that captures the raw intensity of a Western confrontation using authentic dialogue and emotional depth to drive the story forward. The structure will emphasize rapid-fire action and character-driven tension, ensuring each section builds dramatic momentum. The sequence creates a pressure cooker of conflict, each mini-climax ratcheting up the stakes with unexpected twists that keep the audience on edge. Martha's potential return or capture becomes a critical pivot point introducing uncertainty. The child in danger adds a visceral, emotional layer, while Emmeline's potential sacrifice reveals her complex character. Josiah's intervention prevents her ultimate self-destruction, maintaining the narrative's delicate balance between heroism and desperation. The approaching dawn symbolizes survival, but not resolution. Aldridge's persistent threat looms like a gathering storm. The unexpected arrival or dynamic shift promises to upend everything, ensuring the audience remains completely invested in the unfolding drama. Glass shattered, wood splintered. Josiah fired through the crack in the boards and heard a man scream. "Papa, the back window!" Emmeline's voice cut through the gunfire. Josiah spun. A figure was climbing through knife in hand. William raised his pistol and fired. The shot went wide, but the man flinched, giving Josiah enough time to cross the room and bring the rifle butt down hard. The man crumpled. "Good eyes," Josiah said to his grandson. "Keep watching." Another volley hit the front of the cabin. Josiah ducked as splinters exploded above his head. "How many?" Emmeline's called. 6, maybe 7. They're spread out. "Ammunition." "Enough, for now." A voice came from outside. Aldridge calm as ever. "Mr. Mercer, this is unnecessary. People are going to get hurt." "Your people," Josiah shouted back. "Keep sending them. I'll keep dropping them." "You're a practical man. Surely you can see how this ends. We have numbers. We have time. All you have is a cabin that's already falling apart. I got something else too." "And what's that?" "A reason to fight." Josiah reloaded his rifle. "Your boys got that. They willing to die for your money." Silence. Then the shooting started again. Emmeline grabbed the fallen man's knife and positioned herself by the back window. Her hands were steady now, the trembling gone. 4 years of survival had taught her things. Josiah could see it in the way she moved, the way she watched. "William, get your brother and sisters," she said. "Put them in the root cellar." "I'm not leaving you. This isn't a discussion." Her voice was steel. "You're 8 years old. You've been brave enough. Now be smart. Protect the little ones." "Mama, go, now." William looked at his grandfather. Josiah nodded. The boy's jaw tightened, but he went. "He's stubborn," Emmeline said. "Runs in the family." She almost smiled. Almost. A bullet punched through the door, missing Josiah by inches. He returned fire, then ducked as 2 more shots answered. "They're getting closer," Emmeline said. "I know. We can't hold them off forever." "Don't need forever, just till dawn." "What happens at dawn?" "Martha gets to town. Sheriff brings men. Aldridge has to choose between finishing us and getting caught." "You think the sheriff will come?" "Tom Brennan's a good man. Honest, he won't stand for this." Another window shattered. Emmeline slashed with the knife as a hand reached through and a man screamed. That's 3 down, she said. You counting. Old habit. Josiah moved to a different angle, trying to get eyes on the barn. He could see shadows moving, but couldn't get a clear shot. Aldridge, he called. Your men are dying for nothing. Call this off while you still got some left. They're being well compensated, I assure you. Aldridge's voice came from somewhere behind the barn. Safe. Protected. And they understand what's at stake. What is at stake? What's worth all this? Ask your daughter. She knows exactly what she took from me. Josiah looked at Emmeline. Her face had gone pale. What's he talking about? Papa, Emmeline, what did you take? She closed her eyes. Proof. Proof of what? Everything. Names, dates, amounts. Every man who paid Aldridge for... She stopped, her voice breaking. For women. Every transaction. Every victim. I found his ledger. I memorized it. Then I burned it. Josiah stared at her. You memorized it. Every page. Every name. Emmeline opened her eyes, and they were hard as stone. Aldridge runs the biggest trafficking operation between Denver and San Francisco. Judges, politicians, businessmen, they all use his services, and I can bring every single one of them down. That's why he wants you back. That's why he'll never stop. She gripped the knife tighter. I'm not just an escaped prisoner, Papa. I'm a witness, a weapon. As long as I'm alive, his entire empire is at risk. Gunfire erupted again, and Josiah threw himself flat. When he looked up, Emmeline was still standing, still watching. Why didn't you tell me? Because knowing makes you a target too. Everyone I tell becomes someone Aldridge needs to silence. I was already a target the moment I let you in that door. I know. I'm sorry. Don't be. Josiah rose to his knees. This changes things. If what you know can bring him down, it can. It will. If I can get to the right people. Who? Federal marshals. There's an office in Cheyenne. A man named Hollister. He's been trying to build a case against Aldridge for years, but he's never had enough evidence. And you're the evidence. I'm the whole damn case. Emmeline's voice was fierce now. Every name, every date, every dollar, it's all in my head. Aldridge knows it. That's why he kept me alive instead of killing me. He needed to know if I told anyone else, if the information had spread. Has it? No, just me, just what I remember. Josiah processed this. His daughter wasn't just a survivor. She was a walking testimony that could destroy one of the most powerful criminal networks in the territory. No wonder Aldridge was willing to kill for her. We need to get you to Cheyenne, Josiah said. I know. Not someday. Soon. Fast. Before he brings more men. I can't leave the children. You won't. We all go. Together. Papa, that's crazy. 5 children through the mountains in winter. Aldridge's men on our trail. You walked 300 miles alone. We can manage. I almost died. Multiple times. But you didn't. He grabbed her shoulder. Emmeline, if we stay here, we die. Maybe not tonight. Maybe not tomorrow. But eventually, Aldridge will bring enough men to overrun us. Our only chance is to move, get to Cheyenne, get to Hollister, end this. Before she could answer, a new sound cut through the night. Hoofbeats, coming fast. Josiah moved to the window. He could see a rider approaching at full gallop, weaving between gunfire. Martha, he breathed. She was bent low over her horse's neck, riding like the devil himself was chasing her. Which in a way he was. 2 of Aldridge's men had broken off to pursue her. Cover her! Josiah aimed and fired. One of the pursuers fell. Emmeline grabbed a rifle and shot at the second. Missed. Shot again. The man's horse stumbled and he went down. Martha reached the cabin and threw herself from the saddle, hitting the ground running. Josiah yanked the door open just long enough for her to dive inside, then slammed it shut. You're bleeding, Emmeline said. Martha looked down at her arm. A dark stain was spreading across her sleeve. Grazed me. I'm fine. The sheriff. Coming. He's gathering men now. Martha grabbed Josiah's arm. But there's something else. Something I heard in town. What? Aldridge sent men ahead, before he came here. They're waiting on the road to Cheyenne, a dozen of them, maybe more. Josiah felt the cold spread through his chest. He's blocking the route. All the routes, north-south. He's got the territory locked down. No one gets in or out without his say-so. That's not possible. He doesn't have that kind of... He does, Josiah. Martha's face was grim. I talked to Tom Brennan. He wanted to come himself, but the mayor stopped him. Said it was a private matter. Said the sheriff had no jurisdiction over civil disputes. This isn't a civil dispute. This is murder. The mayor doesn't see it that way. Martha lowered her voice. Aldridge owns him. Half the town council, too. Tom's bringing who he can, but it won't be enough. Maybe 4 or 5 men. Against how many? By morning could be 20, 30. Word is, Aldridge called in reinforcements from Denver. Josiah looked at Emmeline. She was staring at the floor, her face hollow. This is my fault, she whispered. Don't. I should have run, kept running. Never come here. Emmeline, they're going to kill my children. Her voice cracked. My babies, because of what I know. Because I was selfish enough to come home. You wanted to see your family. That's not selfish. It is if it gets them killed. A small voice came from the doorway to the back room. Mama. Hannah stood there, her face pale, her thumb in her mouth. I'm scared. Emmeline crossed the room in 3 strides and knelt before her daughter. I know, sweetheart, I know. Are the bad men going to hurt us? No. Emmeline's voice was firm. No, they're not. Grandpa and I won't let them. Promise. Emmeline looked up at Josiah. He saw the question in her eyes, the fear, the doubt. He nodded. I promise, Emmeline said. Now go back to your brothers and sisters. Stay in the cellar. Everything's going to be okay. Hannah studied her mother's face, then reached out and touched her cheek. You came back. I did. I was mad at you. For leaving. I know, baby. I'm sorry. But I'm not mad anymore. Hannah wrapped her arms around Emmeline's neck. I'm glad you're home. Emmeline held her daughter tight, and Josiah saw her shoulders shake. I'm glad too, Emmeline whispered. More than you'll ever know. She pulled back and kissed Hannah's forehead. Go on now. Be brave. Hannah nodded and disappeared into the back room. Emmeline stood slowly. When she turned to face Josiah, the tears were gone. In their place was something else. Something hard. Something decided. I know what I have to do, she said. Emmeline. If I surrender, Aldridge leaves. He has what he wants. The children are safe. You can't be serious. It's the only way. He'll kill you. Maybe, maybe not. I'm more valuable alive. You said yourself he needs to know if you told anyone. Once he has you, once he's sure, then I'll lie. Tell him I wrote it all down. Tell him there's a copy somewhere. Keep him guessing long enough for you to get the children out. That's not a plan. That's suicide. It's a mother protecting her children. Emmeline moved toward the door. Tell them I love them. Tell them I'm sorry I wasn't there. And tell them I never stopped fighting to get back to them. Josiah grabbed her arm. I'm not letting you walk out that door. Papa. Emmeline. I listened to your mother die because I wasn't there. I let your son grow up thinking you were dead because I believed a lie. I will not stand here and watch you sacrifice yourself when there's still a chance to fight. There isn't a chance, you heard Martha. 20 men by morning. 30. We can't win this. Then we run. The roads are blocked. There are other ways, trails, passes, ways Aldridge doesn't know about. Emmeline shook her head. With 5 children, in winter. With 5 children who need their mother. Josiah's grip tightened. With a family that just got put back together. You don't get to quit now. Not after everything you survived. Not after 300 miles. What if we don't make it? Then we don't make it together. As a family. But we try. We fight. We don't give up. Martha stepped forward. He's right, Emmeline. I didn't ride through gunfire just to watch you walk out that door. Emmeline looked between them. Her jaw worked. Her eyes glistened. I'm so tired, she whispered. I'm so tired of fighting. I know. Josiah pulled her into his arms. But you don't have to fight alone anymore. That's the difference. That's what you came home for. She sagged against him, and for a moment she was a little girl again. The daughter he'd taught to ride. The daughter who'd picked wildflowers for her mother. The daughter who'd left angry and come back broken. Okay, she said finally. Okay. We try. Josiah released her and turned to Martha. The old mining trail, the one that goes up through Eagle Pass, you know it? I know it. It's dangerous, narrow, hard enough in summer. But it's not blocked. Aldridge wouldn't think of it. Hell, most people wouldn't try it. Then that's our way out. Emmeline wiped her eyes. When do we leave? Now, while it's still dark. We gather what we can carry and we move. What about Aldridge's men? They're still out there. I'll draw them off. Josiah moved to the window. Make noise, get their attention, give you time to slip out the back with the children. Papa, no. I'm old Emmeline, slower than I used to be, but I can still shoot, and I can still buy time. I'm not leaving you. You have to. I spent 4 years thinking you were dead. I'm not going to. Listen to me. Josiah turned to face her. Those children need you. They need their mother, not their grandfather, not some old man who's already lived his life. You. You're not just some old man, you're my father. And you're my daughter, which is why I'm asking you to trust me. I'll draw them off. I'll keep them busy, and then I'll follow. Meet you at the pass. What if you don't make it? Josiah smiled sadly. Then you keep going. Get to Cheyenne. Find Hollister. Bring Aldridge down. That's how you honor me. That's how you make all of this worth something. Emmeline was crying now. I can't lose you again. You won't, I promise. You can't promise that. I can promise I'll try. That's all any of us can do. She stared at him for a long moment. Then she threw her arms around him. I love you, Papa. I love you too. He held her tight, breathing in the smell of her hair, feeling the fierce grip of her hands. Now go. Get the children. Martha will lead the way. Emmeline pulled back and nodded. She wiped her face, squared her shoulders, and walked toward the back room. Martha hesitated. Josiah, take care of them. You know I will. And Martha. He looked at her, this woman who'd been his friend for 20 years. Thank you. For everything. She touched his arm. Don't do anything stupid. Too late for that. She almost laughed. Then she followed Emmeline. Josiah waited until he heard them moving in the back room, the children's voices confused and frightened. Emmeline explaining, soothing, leading. He turned to the front of the cabin and took a deep breath. Time to make some noise. He grabbed a lantern, lit it, and threw open the front door. The gunfire had stopped for the moment. Aldridge's men were regrouping, waiting for their next move. Josiah stepped onto the porch, the lantern held high. Aldridge. His voice rang across the frozen yard. You want to talk? Let's talk. Silence. Then movement near the barn. I'm listening, Aldridge called. You want my daughter. I want my grandchildren safe. Maybe we can make a deal. What kind of deal? She comes out. You let the rest of us go. No more shooting. No more killing. More silence. Josiah could almost hear Aldridge calculating. That's reasonable, Aldridge said finally. Bring her to me. First, you pull your men back. Let my family leave. Once they're clear, she's yours. How do I know you'll keep your word? How do I know you'll keep yours? A pause. Then, it seems we're at an impasse. Seems like it. Josiah shifted, keeping the light moving. He needed to buy more time. Tell you what, I'll sweeten the deal. My daughter says she memorized your ledger. Every name, every transaction. You get her, you get the only copy that exists. And if you're lying, then you kill us all anyway. What do you have to lose? Another long pause. Josiah could hear soft sounds behind him. Movement. The back door opening and closing. Very well, Aldridge said. Send her out. My men will withdraw to the road. Once I have her, your family is free to go. Give me 5 minutes. She's saying goodbye to the children. 5 minutes, not a second more. Josiah nodded and stepped back inside. He closed the door, but didn't bolt it. Then he moved to the back of the cabin. Empty. They were gone. Vanished into the darkness like ghosts. Good. He returned to the front and waited. 4 minutes, 3, 2. Then he stepped outside again. Aldridge, there's been a change of plans. What are you talking about? She's gone. My daughter, my grandchildren, all of them. They slipped out while we were talking. He heard cursing, shouting, the sound of men scrambling for horses. Josiah raised his rifle and fired into the air, then dove back inside. The return fire was immediate and overwhelming. Bullets tore through the walls. The windows shattered completely. Josiah crawled to the far corner and made himself as small as possible. But the firing was wild now, angry, undisciplined. And in the chaos he heard hoofbeats retreating. Men riding out, splitting up, searching. Exactly what he wanted. He lay there in the dark, listening to the sounds of pursuit fade into the night. Aldridge's men were scattered now, racing in different directions, trying to find a trail in the darkness. They wouldn't find it. Martha knew these hills, knew the hidden paths, knew how to move without leaving tracks. Josiah waited until silence fell. Then he waited longer. Finally he rose. His body ached, his ears rang. But he was alive. He gathered what ammunition remained and slipped out the back door. The cold hit him like a wall, but he welcomed it. It would keep him awake, keep him moving. He started walking. The old mining trail was 7 miles through rough country. In daylight, it would take 3 hours. In darkness, in snow, it might take twice that. But Josiah Mercer had walked harder roads. He thought about his daughter as he climbed, about the woman she'd become. The mother who'd crossed 300 miles to find her children, the survivor who'd memorized a monster's ledger to bring him down. He thought about his grandchildren, William's fierce loyalty, Hannah's cautious trust, the 3 youngest who didn't know him yet, but would. He thought about his wife Margaret waiting for him somewhere beyond the stars. What would she say when she saw him again? Would she be proud of what he'd done? Would she forgive him for the years of silence dawn was breaking when he saw them? They were huddled in a rocky outcropping near the mouth of the pass. Martha spotted him first and raised a hand. Grandpa? William broke from the group and ran toward him. Josiah caught the boy and held him tight. You made it, William said into his chest. Told you I would. Emmeline was next, Sarah in her arms, tears streaming down her face. Papa, I thought... I know. He pulled her close with his free arm. I know. But I'm here. We're all here. The other children gathered around, Thomas and Lucy still half asleep, Hannah watching with those old young eyes. Is it over? Hannah asked. Josiah looked at Emmeline. They both knew the truth. Aldridge was still out there, still hunting, still dangerous. Not yet, Josiah said. But we're closer than we were. He straightened and looked up at the pass. The sun was breaking over the peaks, painting the snow gold and rose. Cheyenne's on the other side, Martha said. 2 days if we push hard, 3 if we're careful. Then we push hard. Josiah shifted Sarah to his other arm. Every hour matters now. They started walking. 1 family, 7 people. Moving toward a hope they couldn't see yet, but refused to stop believing in. Behind them, somewhere in the valley, riders would be searching. Men with guns, men with orders, men who would kill them all if given the chance. But they were moving, fighting, living, and that Josiah knew was all that mattered. The trail climbed higher. The air grew thin. The children stumbled but kept walking. William helped Lucy when she fell. Hannah carried Thomas's pack when his arms got tired. And Emmeline never stopped moving, never stopped watching, never stopped protecting. Josiah walked at the rear, his rifle ready, his eyes scanning the trail behind them. Aldridge would come. He knew that with absolute certainty. The question was whether they'd reach Cheyenne first. The question was whether the truth would come out before the bullets did. The question was whether a family that had been broken for 4 years could hold together long enough to survive what was coming. And to that question, Josiah Mercer only had one answer. They had to. They would. Or they'd die trying. The first day on the trail nearly broke them. Lucy collapsed twice before noon. Thomas cried until his voice gave out. Even William, who refused to show weakness, stumbled so often that Josiah finally lifted him onto his back and carried him for 2 miles. Only Emmeline kept pace without faltering. 4 years of survival had hardened her body in ways the others couldn't match. "We need to rest," Martha said when the sun reached its peak. "We can't." "The children." "I know." Emmeline's voice was tight. "But every minute we stop, Aldridge gets closer. They can't keep going like this. They have to." "Emmeline." Martha grabbed her arm. "Look at them." Emmeline turned. The children were huddled together, shivering despite the layers of clothing. Sarah had stopped crying hours ago, too exhausted even for tears. Hannah was holding Lucy, both of them trembling. Something cracked in Emmeline's face. 15 minutes, she said. No more. They found shelter beneath a rocky overhang. Josiah distributed what food they had. Dried meat, hard bread, a few withered apples. The children ate in silence. William sat apart from the others, his back against the stone. "Come eat," Josiah said. "Not hungry." "You need your strength." "I said I'm not hungry." Josiah sat beside him. "What's wrong?" "Nothing." "William." The boy's jaw tightened. "I should have done more. Back at the cabin, I had a gun. I could have. You did exactly what you needed to do." "I missed. When that man came through the window, I missed." "And then you warned your mother. You gave me time. That's what mattered." "But I missed." Josiah put his hand on the boy's shoulder. "I've been shooting for 40 years. You know how many times I've missed." William looked at him. "More than I can count. Missing isn't failure. Giving up is failure. And you didn't give up." The boy's eyes glistened. "I was scared." "Good. Fear keeps you alive. It's what you do with it that matters. What do you do with yours?" Josiah considered the question. "I think about what I'm protecting. Your mother, your brothers and sisters, you. When I'm scared, I look at all of you and I remember why I'm fighting." William nodded slowly. Then he reached for the bread Josiah was holding. "Maybe I am a little hungry." Josiah smiled and handed it over. 15 minutes passed, then 20. Josiah was about to call them to move when Martha raised her hand. "Quiet." Everyone froze. Josiah listened. At first nothing, then hoofbeats, distant but closing. "How many?" Emmeline whispered. "Can't tell. 3, 4. Coming this way." Martha climbed to a higher vantage point, moving silently. She peered through the rocks, then scrambled back down. 6 riders, quarter-mile out. They're following the trail. Josiah's heart sank. "They found us." "Not yet." But they will. We can't outrun horses. No. Martha's face was grim. We can't. Emmeline looked around frantically. There has to be another way, a side trail, something. There's nothing. This is the only path through the pass. Then we hide, wait for them to pass. They won't pass, they'll search. Martha shook her head. This is Aldridge's territory. His men know these trails better than I do. Then what do we do? Silence. The hoofbeats were louder now, close enough to hear individual horses. Josiah stood. I'll lead them off. Papa, no. There's no other way. I go back down the trail, make noise, draw them away. You keep moving. You'll die. Maybe. Maybe not. I already lost you once. I can't. You can. Because those children need you more than they need me. Josiah grabbed her shoulders. Emmeline, listen to me. You are the only thing standing between Aldridge and your babies. You are the only one who can bring him down. If I die here, my death means something. If you die, everything we've fought for dies with you. Emmeline was crying now. It's not fair. Life ain't fair. Never has been. He kissed her forehead. Tell the children I love them. Tell them their grandfather died protecting his family. That's a good death. Better than most. Papa, go, now, while there's still time. He released her and turned to Martha. Get them to Cheyenne. Find Hollister. Make sure the truth comes out. Martha nodded, her eyes wet. I will. I swear it. Josiah looked at his grandchildren one last time. William trying so hard to be brave. Hannah watching with those old young eyes. Thomas and Lucy huddled together. And little Sarah asleep in her mother's arms, unaware of the sacrifice being made for her. I love you all, Josiah said. Remember that, no matter what happens. Then he turned and walked back down the trail. The riders appeared within minutes. 6 men, just as Martha had said. Armed. Dangerous. They saw Josiah standing in the middle of the path and reined their horses to a stop. Well, well. The leader was a big man with a scar across his cheek. The old rancher himself. Just me, Josiah said. The others are long gone. Somehow I doubt that. Doubt all you want. You won't find them. The scarred man dismounted. Where's the woman? Which woman? Don't play games, old man. Aldridge wants her. He's paying good money. Then Aldridge is wasting his money. The scarred man stepped closer. I'm going to ask you one more time. Where is she? And I'm going to tell you one more time. You won't find her. The man's fist connected with Josiah's jaw. Pain exploded through his skull, and he staggered, but didn't fall. Wrong answer. Another blow, this time to the stomach. Josiah doubled over, gasping. We can do this all day, the scarred man said. I got nothing but time. Josiah spat blood onto the ground. Then you'll be disappointed, because I'd die before I told you anything. That can be arranged. The scarred man drew his pistol and pressed it to Josiah's forehead. Last chance. Where's the woman? Josiah looked up at him. At the cold eyes, the cruel smile, the complete absence of mercy. And he smiled. Right behind you. The scarred man spun, and Emmeline's rifle shot caught him in the shoulder. He screamed and dropped his gun. Chaos erupted. Martha opened fire from behind a boulder, dropping one rider before the others could react. William, who was supposed to be running, rose from behind a rock with his pistol and shot another in the leg. Josiah lunged for the fallen pistol, grabbed it, fired twice. The remaining riders scattered unprepared for an ambush they hadn't expected. One of them tried to flee, but Martha's next shot took him off his horse. Within seconds it was over. 5 men down, one still mounted, spurring his horse back down the trail as fast as it would go. Let him go, Emmeline said. We need to move. Emmeline, what are you doing here? Josiah was shaking. I told you to run. And I told you I wasn't losing you again. She lowered her rifle. We're done running, Papa. We fight together or we don't fight at all. The children are safe, hidden in a cave half a mile up. Martha stayed with them until we heard the shots. This was planned. You planned this. I spent 4 years learning how to survive. Emmeline's eyes were hard. You think I didn't learn how to fight back? Josiah stared at his daughter. This woman who'd walked 300 miles, who'd memorized a monster's ledger, who'd just helped ambush 6 armed men. You're something else, Emmeline Mercer. I'm your daughter. She almost smiled. Now come on. That rider's going to bring reinforcements. We need to get the children and go. They moved fast after that. The ambush had bought them time, but not much. By nightfall, they'd covered another 5 miles, pushing deeper into the pass. The children were exhausted, but the fear of what lay behind kept them moving. Hannah stopped asking questions. Thomas stopped crying. Even little Sarah seemed to understand that silence meant survival. They made camp in a narrow ravine hidden from the main trail. No fire, the smoke would give them away. They huddled together for warmth, the adults taking turns keeping watch. Josiah sat with his back against the rock, listening to the darkness. Beside him, Emmeline was finally asleep. Sarah curled against her chest. William appeared and sat down next to his grandfather. Can't sleep. The boy shook his head. Every time I close my eyes, I see that man, the one I shot. The one in the leg. Yeah. He would have killed us. You saved our lives. I know, but... William's voice wavered. I keep thinking about his face. The way he looked when the bullet hit him. Josiah was quiet for a moment. The first man I ever shot was in the war. I was 19, about your age in war years. Were you scared? Terrified. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped my rifle. What did you do? I shot him anyway, because if I didn't, he would have shot me. William looked up. Did you feel bad after? Every day, for a long time. Josiah put his arm around the boy. Taking a life changes you, even when it's necessary, even when you had no choice. The weight of it never quite goes away. Then how do you live with it? You remember why you did it. You remember what you were protecting. Josiah gestured toward the sleeping children. Every time you feel that weight, you look at them, and you know it was worth it. William leaned against his grandfather. I don't want to be a killer. You're not. You're a boy who protected his family. There's a difference. What's the difference? A killer takes life because he can. You took it because you had to, because the alternative was losing everyone you love. William nodded slowly. He didn't speak again, but after a while, his breathing deepened. Sleep finally, despite everything. Josiah held him and watched the stars wheel overhead. Tomorrow they would reach the other side of the pass. Tomorrow they would be closer to Cheyenne, closer to safety, closer to ending this. But tonight there was just this, a grandfather holding his grandson, a family holding on. It was enough. Dawn came gray and cold. They ate the last of their food and started moving again. The trail descended, now winding down through narrower passages. By mid-morning, Martha raised her hand. We're close. Another hour, maybe less. To what? The mining town, Silver Ridge. It's abandoned now, but the road to Cheyenne starts there. How far to Cheyenne from Silver Ridge? Half a day's ride, longer on foot. We need horses. There might be some left in the town. The miners abandoned everything when the silver ran out. They pressed on. The children moved faster now, sensing that safety was close. Even Josiah felt something like hope stirring in his chest. Then they heard it. Gunfire. Behind them. Still distant, but unmistakable. They're on the trail, Martha said. Moving fast. How far? Maybe an hour. Maybe less. Emmeline picked up Sarah and started running. The others followed without a word. The trail twisted and turned. Rocks bit at their feet. The cold air burned their lungs. But they kept moving, driven by the sound of pursuit growing ever closer. They burst out of the pass and into the valley beyond. Silver Ridge lay ahead, a ghost town of empty buildings and broken dreams. There, Martha pointed toward a stable on the edge of town. If there are horses anywhere, they'll be there. They ran. Josiah's joints screamed in protest. His lungs felt like they were filled with fire. But he kept running. The stable was empty. No horses, no mules, nothing but rotting hay and rusted equipment. "No," Emmeline's voice cracked. "No, no, no." "Check the other buildings," Martha said. "Split up, find anything we can use." They searched. Every building, every shed, every collapsed structure. Nothing. The gunfire was closer now. Much closer. "We can't outrun them on foot," Martha said. "Not with the children." "Then we fight." "With what? We're almost out of ammunition." "Then we fight with whatever we have." Josiah looked around the abandoned town. His eyes fell on a large building near the center. The assayer's office. 2 stories. Stone walls. "There," he said. "We make our stand there." They barricaded themselves inside, just as the first riders appeared at the edge of town. Josiah counted. 12 men, maybe more. And at their head, riding a black horse with silver trappings, was Cornelius Aldridge. "Mr. Mercer." Aldridge's voice carried across the empty street. "I have to say you've led us quite a chase. I'm almost impressed." Josiah didn't answer. He was positioning the children in the back room away from the windows. "I know you're in there. I know the woman is with you. And I know you're out of options." Aldridge dismounted and walked toward the building. "Let's end this. No more running. No more fighting. Just a simple transaction." Emmeline appeared at Josiah's side. "What do we do?" "We hold them off. As long as we can." "And then?" Josiah looked at her. They both knew there was no "and then." This was the end of the road. "We make it count," he said. Aldridge was still talking. "I'm a reasonable man. Send the woman out, and I'll let the rest of you go. You have my word." "Your word doesn't mean anything," Josiah called back. "Perhaps not. But what choice do you have?" "We choose to fight." Aldridge sighed. "I was afraid you'd say that." He turned to his men. "Burn it." "No!" Emmeline screamed. 2 men ran forward with torches. Josiah fired, dropping one. Martha got the other. But more were coming, and the ammunition was running out. Smoke began to rise from the back of the building. Someone had gotten close enough to set a fire. "We have to get out," Martha said. "Now." "They'll shoot us down the moment we step outside. We'll die in here if we don't." The smoke was thickening. The children were coughing. Sarah started to cry. Josiah looked at his family. At the end of everything. At the choice he never wanted to make. Then he heard it. Hoofbeats. Dozens of them. Coming from the east. Aldridge heard it too. He turned, and for the first time his composure cracked. "What the—" A column of riders appeared at the end of the street. At their head rode a man with a badge on his chest and a rifle in his hands. "Federal Marshal," he shouted. "Everyone drop your weapons." Aldridge's men hesitated. Some reached for their guns. Others started to run. The marshals didn't hesitate. In the chaos that followed, Aldridge tried to mount his horse. Emmeline burst out of the burning building and tackled him before he could reach the stirrup. They rolled in the dirt, fighting for the pistol in his belt. Aldridge was bigger, stronger. He got on top, his hands around her throat. "You should have stayed dead," he hissed. Emmeline's vision was going dark. She couldn't breathe, couldn't fight. Then a small body slammed into Aldridge from the side. William screaming, hitting, biting. It was enough. Aldridge's grip loosened. Emmeline grabbed a rock and brought it down on his temple. He collapsed. The marshals swarmed over them. Someone was pulling Aldridge away in chains. Someone else was wrapping a blanket around Emmeline's shoulders. There were voices everywhere, questions, shouts, the sound of fires being put out. But Emmeline only had eyes for her son. "William." She pulled him into her arms. "William, you saved me." "I told you." The boy was crying now, all his bravery finally crumbling. "I told you I wasn't leaving you again." Josiah appeared, Sarah in his arms, the other children trailing behind him. Martha was with them, soot-streaked but alive. "Is it over?" Hannah asked. "Are the bad men gone?" Emmeline looked at Aldridge unconscious and chained, at his men being rounded up by the marshals, at the burning building that had almost been their tomb. "Yes, sweetheart." Her voice broke on the words. "It's over." The man with the badge approached. He was tall, weathered, with kind eyes and a hard face. "You must be Emmeline Mercer." "I am." "I'm Marshal James Hollister." He tipped his hat. "I got a very interesting letter 2 days ago. From a woman named Martha Grayson. Said you had information that could bring down half the territory's power structure." Emmeline stared at him. "The letter got through?" "Barely. One of my men intercepted a rider trying to destroy it." Hollister looked at Aldridge's unconscious form. "I've been after this man for 3 years. Never had enough evidence to touch him. I have evidence, everything. Names, dates, amounts, every transaction he's ever made. You're willing to testify? I'll do more than testify." Emmeline's voice was steel. "I'll burn his empire to the ground." Hollister smiled. It was the first real smile Emmeline had seen in a long time. "Ma'am, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful partnership." Josiah put his arm around his daughter. Around him his grandchildren gathered close. Dirty, exhausted, traumatized, but alive. All of them alive. "Let's go home," Emmeline whispered. "We don't have a home," William said quietly. "The cabin burned." "Then we'll build a new one." Emmeline pulled him closer. "Together. As a family." Sarah reached up and touched her mother's face. "Mama," she said. It was the first time she'd said the word since Emmeline had returned, and for the first time in 4 years, Emmeline Mercer allowed herself to believe that everything might actually be okay. The ride to Cheyenne took the rest of the day. Marshal Hollister provided horses and a wagon for the children, and by nightfall they were inside the walls of the federal courthouse. Emmeline hadn't stopped shaking since they left Silver Ridge. "You're safe now," Hollister told her. "Aldridge is in custody. His men are either dead or in chains." "Safe." Emmeline repeated the word like she didn't understand it. "I haven't been safe in 4 years." "I know, but that's over." "Is it?" She looked at him with hollow eyes. "You don't know what he built. You don't know how far it reaches." "Then tell me." So she did. For 3 hours, Emmeline sat in Hollister's office and recited names, dates, amounts, every transaction she'd memorized from Aldridge's ledger. Judges, politicians, businessmen, ranchers, men who'd built their fortunes on the backs of women who couldn't fight back. Hollister's face grew darker with every name. "Senator Morrison," Emmeline said. $12,000 over 3 years. He preferred young women. The younger, the better. Hollister's pen stopped moving. "Senator Morrison, you're sure?" "I'm sure. He came to the facility himself. I saw him." "Do you understand what you're saying?" "Morrison sits on the Territorial Judiciary Committee. He appointed half the judges in this region." "I understand exactly what I'm saying." Emmeline's voice was ice. "That's why Aldridge kept me alive. That's why he never let me go. I know too much. I can destroy everything he built." Hollister set down his pen. "Mrs. Mercer, if you testify to this in open court, you'll be making enemies of some of the most powerful men in the territory." "I know. They'll try to discredit you. They'll call you a liar, a madwoman, a woman of loose morals." "I know. They might try to kill you." "They've been trying to kill me for 4 years." Emmeline leaned forward. I didn't walk 300 miles through the snow to stay silent. I didn't lose 4 years with my children to let these men keep hurting women. I'll testify. I'll name every single one of them. And if they kill me for it, at least the truth will be out. Hollister studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. The trial starts in 3 days. I'll have guards posted around the clock. No one gets near you or your family without going through me first. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Hollister stood. This is going to get ugly before it gets better. He wasn't wrong. The next morning, the newspapers were full of the story. Rancher's daughter returns from the dead. Woman claims kidnapping by prominent businessman. Federal marshals arrest Cornelius Aldridge. And then the counterattack began. She's lying. Senator Morrison declared to reporters outside the courthouse. This woman is clearly disturbed. She abandoned her children 4 years ago, and now she's invented this fantasy to escape responsibility. What about the charges against Aldridge? A reporter asked. Trumped up. Aldridge is a respected businessman. He'll be vindicated. The words hit Emmeline like a physical blow. She was standing at the window of the room Hollister had given them, watching the crowd below. They're calling me a liar, she said quietly. Josiah stood beside her. Let them. The truth will come out. Willett Morrison has money, power, connections. What do I have? You have proof. You have testimony. You have me. Emmeline turned to look at her father. Papa, I'm scared. I know. What if no one believes me? What if they let Aldridge go? What if... Then we fight harder. Josiah took her hands. Emmeline, you survived 4 years of hell. You escaped. You found your way home. You think a few politicians are going to stop you now? They're not just politicians. They're the men who run this territory. And you're the woman who's going to bring them down. A knock at the door interrupted them. Martha entered, her face grim. There's a problem. What kind of problem? One of the witnesses. A woman named Clara Foster. She was at Aldridge's facility the same time as Emmeline. She was supposed to testify. She's dead. Found this morning in her hotel room. They're calling it suicide. Emmeline's blood ran cold. It wasn't suicide. I know, but they've already ruled it. Case closed. They killed her. They killed her to keep her quiet. Probably. And they'll do the same to me. Martha didn't answer. She didn't have to. Josiah's jaw tightened. Where's Hollister? Downstairs. He's doubling the guards. It won't be enough. Emmeline's voice was hollow. They got to Clara inside a guarded hotel. They can get to anyone. Then we don't wait for them to come to us. Josiah headed for the door. I'm going to talk to Hollister. If they want a war, we'll give them one. He was gone before Emmeline could stop him. She sank into a chair, her head in her hands. 4 years. 4 years of fighting, surviving, hoping. And now this. Clara was dead. The witnesses were being silenced. The powerful men Emmeline had named were circling like wolves, and her children were caught in the middle. Mama. Emmeline looked up. William was standing in the doorway, Hannah behind him. Are we going to be okay? Emmeline forced a smile she didn't feel. Of course we are. You're lying. William's voice was flat. I can always tell when you're lying. William, the lady died, didn't she? The one who was going to help. Emmeline's smile faded. Yes, she did. Are they going to try to hurt you too? They might try. Then I'll protect you. William walked over and sat beside her. I protected you before, in Silver Ridge. I can do it again. You're 8 years old. I'm almost 9, and I'm not afraid. You should be afraid. These are dangerous people. I know, but you're my mother, and I'm not letting anyone hurt you again. Emmeline pulled him close, tears streaming down her face. When did you get so brave? When I had to. Hannah crept closer and sat on Emmeline's other side. I'm brave too. I just don't show it as much. Emmeline laughed through her tears. You're both brave. Braver than I deserve. You're brave too, Mama. Hannah looked up at her. You came back. Even when it was hard. Even when it was scary. You came back for us. I'll always come back for you. No matter what. The three of them sat there together holding on. And for a moment, despite everything, Emmeline felt something she hadn't felt in years. Strength. Not her own strength, but the strength that came from family. From love. From having something worth fighting for. The door opened. Josiah entered, his face set. We have a plan. What kind of plan? The trial's been moved up. Tomorrow morning. Hollister's worried about more witnesses disappearing, so he's pushing for an immediate hearing. Tomorrow, I'm not ready. You're more ready than you think. Josiah knelt in front of her. Emmeline, you've been rehearsing this testimony for 4 years. Every name, every date, every crime. It's all in your head. You don't need more time. You need to stand up and tell the truth. What if they don't believe me? Then we make them believe. We have evidence. We have Aldridge's ledger, what's left of it. We have other survivors who are willing to talk. I thought Clara was the only other witness. She was the only one willing to go public. But Hollister's been working through the night. He found 3 more women. They're scared, but they'll testify. How do you know? Because I talked to them. Josiah's voice was soft. I told them about you, about what you survived, about what you're willing to risk. And they decided that if you could be brave, so could they. Emmeline stared at her father. You did that? I did what any father would do. I fought for my daughter. Papa, you're not alone in this, Emmeline. You never were. The night before the trial, Emmeline couldn't sleep. She sat by the window watching the guards patrol below. The children were asleep in the next room, Martha watching over them. Josiah was downstairs meeting with Hollister one last time. A soft knock came at the door. Come in. The door opened. A woman entered, thin, worn, with haunted eyes. Emmeline recognized her immediately. Mary. Mary Collins. They'd been in the facility together. Shared a room for 6 months. Held each other when the nights got too dark. I heard you were here. Mary's voice was barely a whisper. I had to see you. Emmeline stood and embraced her. I thought you were dead. They told me you were dead. They tell everyone that. Keeps us from hoping. Mary pulled back. But I got out. 2 years ago. Been hiding ever since. You're one of the witnesses. I am, though God knows I'm terrified. So am I. You don't look terrified. I've learned to hide it. Mary sat down, her hands twisting in her lap. Emmeline, I need to tell you something. Before tomorrow. Before all of this becomes public. What is it? When I was in that place when Aldridge... She stopped, swallowed. I did things. Things I'm not proud of. Things I'll never forgive myself for. We all did things. We did what we had to do to survive. No, this is different. Mary looked at the floor. Aldridge used me to recruit other women. I lied to them. Told them there was work. Good, honest work. And then... Her voice broke. Emmeline felt cold settle in her chest. How many? 12, maybe more. I don't remember. I tried not to remember. Mary. I know you hate me. You should hate me. I hate myself. I don't hate you. You should. Why? Because Aldridge turned you into a tool. Because he twisted you until you couldn't tell right from wrong. Emmeline grabbed her hands. That's what he does. That's what all of them do. They break us down until we become weapons against each other. I can't testify. Not after what I did. They'll tear me apart. Then let them try. Emmeline's voice was fierce. You think the truth is clean. You think any of us came out of that place with our hands spotless? We survived. That's what matters. And tomorrow, we're going to make sure no one else has to survive what we survived." Mary was crying now. "What if they don't believe us?" "Then we make them believe. We stand up there together and we tell the truth. All of it. The ugly parts. The shameful parts. The parts that make us want to disappear." "I'm so scared." "I know. So am I." Emmeline pulled her into another embrace. "But we're going to do it anyway. Because that's what survivors do." The courtroom was packed. Every seat filled. People standing against the walls. Reporters with notebooks and pencils. Politicians in their finest suits, their faces masks of righteous indignation. And in the front row, Aldridge himself. Chained to a chair, but still smiling. Still confident. Emmeline walked to the witness stand with her head high. Her legs were shaking, but no one could see that beneath her borrowed dress. Her voice was trembling, but she kept it steady through sheer force of will. "State your name for the record." "Emmeline Mercer." "Mrs. Mercer, can you tell the court where you've been for the past 4 years?" Emmeline looked at Aldridge, at his cold eyes, his smug smile. "I've been in hell," she said, "and I'm here to make sure the man who put me there never hurts anyone again." The gallery erupted. The judge banged his gavel. Aldridge's smile flickered. And Emmeline began to talk. She talked for 3 hours. Names, dates, transactions. She described the facility in detail. The rooms, the guards, the men who came in the night. She described how women were recruited, controlled, silenced. When she named Senator Morrison, the gallery gasped. Morrison himself was in the courtroom. His face went white, then red with fury. "This is outrageous," he shouted. "I demand—" "You'll sit down and remain silent," the judge said coldly, "or I'll have you removed." Morrison sat, but his eyes never left Emmeline, and in them she saw murder. She kept talking. She described Clara Foster, how Clara had been in the room next to hers, how Clara had tried to escape 3 times, how Clara had finally made it out only to be found dead in a hotel room 2 days ago. Suicide. Aldridge's lawyer sneered. A tragedy, but unrelated. Clara Foster didn't kill herself. Emmeline's voice was steel. She was killed to keep her from testifying. Just like Aldridge tried to kill me. Just like he tried to kill my entire family. Objection. Speculation. Overruled. The witness will continue. Emmeline continued. She talked about Mary Collins, about the other survivors, about the network of powerful men who had used Aldridge's services for years. When she finished, the courtroom was silent. The judge cleared his throat. "Does the defense wish to cross-examine?" Aldridge's lawyer stood. He was a tall man, slick, expensive, the kind of lawyer who'd never lost a case because he knew how to destroy witnesses. "Mrs. Mercer," he began, "isn't it true that you abandoned your children 4 years ago? I left them with my father. I believed they would be safe. But you left. You walked away from your own children to follow a man. I made a mistake. A mistake. And when that mistake didn't work out, you invented this elaborate story to explain your absence. It's not a story. It's the truth." "Is it? You expect this court to believe that a respected businessman kidnapped you, held you prisoner for 4 years, and forced you into—" "I don't expect anything." Emmeline cut him off. "I'm telling you what happened, whether you believe it is your choice. But you have no proof. The ledger you claim to have memorized, there's no physical evidence. Because Aldridge destroyed it. That's what men like him do. They destroy evidence. They destroy witnesses. They destroy anyone who threatens them. Or perhaps the ledger never existed at all. Then explain Clara Foster. Explain why she's dead 2 days before she was scheduled to testify. Suicide. Explain the bruises on her neck. Explain the broken window in her room. Explain why the suicide note was written in handwriting that wasn't hers." The lawyer hesitated. He hadn't expected that. Marshal Hollister, Emmeline said, turning to address the gallery, examined the scene himself. He has photographs. He has witnesses who saw two men entering the hotel that night. Men who worked for Aldridge. Hollister stood. That's correct, Your Honor. I have the evidence here. The courtroom exploded again. This time, the judge let it go for a moment before restoring order. Aldridge's smile was gone. The cross-examination continued, but the lawyer had lost momentum. Every attack was parried. Every insinuation was countered. And when the other survivors took the stand one by one, their testimony reinforced everything Emmeline had said. Mary Collins spoke last. She confessed her role in recruiting other women. She wept as she described what Aldridge had made her do. And then she pointed at him and said, "He's a monster, and he needs to be stopped." The trial lasted 3 days. On the 4th day, the jury delivered its verdict. Guilty. On all counts. Aldridge was sentenced to hang. Senator Morrison was arrested. 14 other men were indicted based on Emmeline's testimony. And as the guards led Aldridge away, he turned and looked at Emmeline one last time. "This isn't over," he said. "Yes," Emmeline replied. "It is." That night the family gathered in the room Hollister had provided. All 7 of them. Josiah, Emmeline, William, Hannah, Thomas, Lucy, and little Sarah, who had fallen asleep in her mother's arms. "We did it," Martha said quietly. "We actually did it." "Not yet." Emmeline stroked Sarah's hair. "The appeal will take months. Other trials will follow. There's still so much work to do." "But the hard part's over." "Is it?" Emmeline looked at her children, at the trauma they'd endured, at the fear that still lingered in their eyes. "They've been through so much. We've all been through so much. It doesn't just go away because a judge says guilty." "No," Josiah agreed. "It doesn't, but it gets better, day by day, step by step." "How do you know?" "Because I've been through it." He sat beside her. "When your mother died, I thought I'd never feel anything again. When you left, I thought I'd lost everything. And when I believed you were dead..." His voice caught. "I spent 4 years as a ghost, walking through life but not living it." "What changed?" "You knocked on my door." He smiled. "You knocked on my door and everything changed." William crawled into Josiah's lap. "Grandpa, what happens now?" Now we go home." "But we don't have a home. The cabin burned." "Then we build a new one, together." "Can I help?" "I'm counting on it." Hannah moved closer. "Will the bad men come back?" "No, sweetheart. The bad men are going away for a long time." "Promise." Josiah looked at Emmeline. She nodded. "I promise," he said. Thomas tugged at his mother's sleeve. "Mama, I'm hungry." Emmeline laughed. It was the first real laugh she'd given in weeks. "Of course you are. You're always hungry. Can we get pie?" "It's 9 o'clock at night." "Grandpa says pie is appropriate at any hour." Emmeline raised an eyebrow at her father. "Did he now?" Josiah shrugged. "The boy's not wrong." "You're corrupting my children." "That's a grandfather's job." For a moment, they just looked at each other. Father and daughter, survivor and protector. 2 people who had lost everything and found it again. "Thank you, Papa," Emmeline whispered, "for not giving up on me." "Never." Josiah took her hand. "Not as long as I'm breathing." A knock came at the door. Martha answered it and returned with a letter. "It's from the territorial governor," she said. "Addressed to you, Emmeline." Emmeline opened it with trembling hands. She read it once, then again, then a 3rd time. "What does it say?" Josiah asked. "He's offering me a position." Emmeline's voice was stunned. "An official role. Helping the marshals identify and rescue other women trapped in operations like Aldridge's." "What?" He says my testimony saved lives. He says my courage inspired others to come forward. He says—" She stopped, tears streaming down her face. "He says the territory owes me a debt that can never be repaid. Will you take it?" Emmeline looked at her children, at her father, at Martha, who had risked everything to help them. "Yes," she said, "I'll take it. Because if there are other women out there, other women trapped, like I was, someone needs to fight for them." "You could get hurt, again." "I know. You could put yourself in danger, again." "I know. And you're still going to do it." Emmeline met her father's eyes. "You raised me to fight for what's right, even when it's hard, even when it hurts. This is what's right, Papa. I can't turn away from it." Josiah studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled. "Your mother would be proud of you." "You think so?" "I know so." He squeezed her hand. "And so am I." William looked up at his mother with wide eyes. "You're going to save people." "I'm going to try." "Like you saved us. Like we saved each other." She pulled him close. "Because that's what families do." Outside, the snow was falling. The trial was over. The monsters were in chains. And somewhere in the darkness, a new day was beginning. 3 months passed before they broke ground on the new cabin. Josiah had found land near Cheyenne, close enough for Emmeline to do her work with the Marshalls, far enough from the memories that haunted them all. The property had a creek running through it, good pasture for horses, and a view of the mountains that reminded him of home. "It's perfect," Emmeline said when she first saw it. "It's land. Land's just land until you build something on it." "Then let's build." They started in the spring. Josiah hired men from town to help with the heavy work, but the family did as much as they could themselves. William carried lumber. Hannah sorted nails. Even Thomas and Lucy helped hauling buckets of water for the workers. Only Sarah was too young to work. But she supervised from her perch on a blanket, clapping her hands whenever something went right and frowning disapprovingly whenever it didn't. "She's got opinions," Martha observed one afternoon. "She gets that from her mother," Josiah said. "I heard that," Emmeline called from across the yard. By summer, the frame was up. By fall, the roof was finished. And by the first snowfall, the Mercer family moved into their new home. That night, they sat around the fireplace together. All 7 of them, plus Martha, who had become family in everything but name. "It's smaller than the old place," William said. "We'll add on," Josiah replied. "Give it time." "I like it." Hannah ran her hand along the fresh-hewn logs. "It smells new." "It smells like sawdust," Thomas complained. "Same thing." Emmeline was quiet, staring into the fire. Josiah recognized that look. She'd worn it often in the months since the trial. "What's on your mind?" "Nothing." "Emmeline," she sighed. "I got a letter today. From Marshal Hollister." "Good news or bad?" "Both." She pulled the letter from her pocket. "Aldridge's appeal was denied. The execution is scheduled for next month." "That's the good news." "That's the expected news." Emmeline's voice dropped. "The bad news is that 3 of his men escaped custody last week. They're still at large." The warmth in the room seemed to fade. "Do they know where we are?" Martha asked. "Hollister doesn't think so, but he's sending extra patrols just in case." "I want guards," Josiah said immediately. "Papa, I mean it, day and night, until those men are caught. That could take months. Then we have guards for months." His voice was hard. "I'm not taking chances, not with this family." Emmeline looked at her children, at their faces finally starting to lose the shadow of fear that had followed them since Silver Ridge. She didn't want to put that fear back, but she also didn't want them dead. "All right," she said. "I'll talk to Hollister tomorrow." The guards arrived 3 days later. 4 men rotating shifts stationed around the property at all times. The children were curious at first, asking questions, following the guards around like puppies. But gradually, the novelty faded and life settled into something like normal. William started school in town. He was behind the other students his age, but he caught up quickly. His teacher said he had a sharp mind and a stubborn streak. "Wonder where he gets that," Josiah said when Emmeline told him. "From his grandfather, obviously." Obviously. Hannah proved to be gifted with animals. She had a way of calming even the most skittish horses, and by winter she was helping Josiah break in a new foal they'd bought from a rancher in town. "She's got your mother's touch," Josiah told Emmeline one evening. "Mama was good with horses. The best I ever saw. She could gentle a wild stallion in an afternoon." "I don't remember that." "You were too young." Josiah's voice softened. "But she would have loved seeing Hannah with those animals. She would have loved all of this." "Do you think she knows wherever she is?" "I like to think so." The younger children adapted in their own ways. Thomas discovered a love for building things, spending hours constructing elaborate structures out of sticks and stones. Lucy became Martha's shadow, following her everywhere, learning to cook and sew and keep house. And Sarah, now 4 years old, had finally started calling Emmeline Mama without hesitation. "Mama, look." She held up a drawing scribbled in charcoal on butcher paper. "It's us." Emmeline took the drawing. 5 stick figures of varying sizes clustered around a larger figure and an even larger one. A lopsided house behind them. A yellow circle in the corner that might have been the sun. "It's beautiful, sweetheart." "That's you." Sarah pointed at one of the medium-sized figures. "And that's Grandpa. And that's William and Hannah and Thomas and Lucy and me." "Where's Miss Martha?" Sarah frowned. "I ran out of room." "Well, next time we'll make sure to include her." "Okay, Mama." Sarah ran off to show her artwork to the guards. Emmeline watched her go, clutching the drawing to her chest. These moments. These small, perfect moments. This was what she'd dreamed of during those 4 years in the darkness. This was what had kept her alive. And yet even now she couldn't fully enjoy them. Because somewhere out there, 3 men were hunting her. 3 men who would kill her children to get to her. The fear never went away. It just learned to hide. Winter deepened. The snow piled high around the cabin, and the family spent their evenings by the fire, reading, playing games, telling stories. Josiah taught the children poker, despite Emmeline's objections. "It's gambling, Papa. It's mathematics, and strategy, and reading people. It's gambling." "Fine, we'll play for matchsticks instead of money." William proved to be a natural. He won 3 games in a row before Josiah finally figured out his tells. "You twitch your left eye when you're bluffing," Josiah said. "I do not." "You do. Watch." He dealt another hand. Watched. And when William's eye twitched, Josiah called his bluff. "That's not fair," William protested. "You cheated." "Reading tells isn't cheating. It's skill." "Same thing." Josiah laughed. It was a sound that had been rare in this family for too long. But it was becoming more common, day by day, week by week. Healing happened slowly, but it happened. Then on a cold night in February, everything changed again. Emmeline woke to the sound of gunfire. She was out of bed before her mind fully registered what was happening. Grabbed her rifle, ran to the children's room. "Everyone up now." William was already awake, his pistol in hand. Hannah was gathering the younger children, pulling them toward the corner of the room. "What's happening?" Thomas asked, his voice high with fear. "Stay quiet. Stay together." Another shot, this one closer. Then shouting. Men's voices. Josiah burst through the door. "They're here! Aldridge's men! At least 5 of them!" "The guards! 1 down, maybe 2. The others are holding them off, but they won't last long." Emmeline's blood ran cold. "How did they find us? Does it matter we need to move?" "Where?" "The cellar. There's a tunnel. I dug it last month just in case." "You dug a tunnel and didn't tell me." "I'm telling you now." Josiah grabbed William's arm. "Help me with the little ones." They moved fast, down the stairs, through the kitchen, to the cellar door. A window shattered somewhere behind them. More gunfire. One of the guards screamed, "Hurry!" Josiah yanked open the cellar door. The children went first. William, Hannah, Thomas, carrying Lucy. Martha appeared with Sarah in her arms. "Go," Emmeline told her. "I'll be right behind you." "Emmeline." "Go." Martha went. Josiah started to follow, but Emmeline grabbed his arm. "Someone needs to cover our escape." "I'll do it." "No, I will." She pressed her rifle into his hands. "They want me, Papa. Not you, not the children. Me. If I can draw them away." "Absolutely not." "Papa." "I said no." His voice was steel. "I didn't bring you back from the dead just to watch you sacrifice yourself. We go together or we don't go at all. The children need you. The children need their mother. I'm an old man, Emmeline. I've lived my life. You're just starting yours over. Don't you dare." The front door exploded inward. A man stood in the opening, rifle raised. Josiah moved faster than Emmeline thought possible. He shoved her through the cellar door and slammed it behind her. "Papa!" She pounded on the wood. "Papa, open this door. Take the children and go." "I'm not leaving you." "You don't have a choice." Gunfire. Loud close deafening. Then silence. "Papa." Emmeline's voice cracked. "Papa, answer me." "Nothing." "Papa." A hand grabbed her arm. Martha. "Emmeline, we have to go. The tunnel won't do any good if we don't use it." "I can't leave him." "You can't help him either, not from here. But if we get to town, if we bring back the marshals." "It'll be too late." "Maybe, maybe not. But dying down here won't save him." Emmeline stared at the cellar door. Her father was on the other side, fighting, maybe dying. And she was trapped down here with her children, her children. She looked at them. 5 small faces in the darkness illuminated by the single lantern Martha held. Terrified, waiting, trusting her to keep them safe. "The tunnel," she said. Her voice was dead. "Show me." They ran. The tunnel was narrow, barely wide enough for an adult. Josiah had dug it himself night after night, telling no one. It emerged 200 yards from the cabin, hidden by a copse of trees. They burst out into the snow. The cold hit them like a wall, but Emmeline barely felt it. "Which way to town?" "East, 3 miles." "Can the children make it?" "They have to." They started running. William helped Lucy. Martha carried Sarah. Hannah held Thomas's hand, and Emmeline brought up the rear, watching for pursuit. It came faster than she expected. She heard the horses before she saw them. 2 riders breaking through the tree line, bearing down on them fast. "Run!" she screamed. The children ran, but they were small, slow, exhausted. The riders were going to catch them. Emmeline stopped, turned, raised her pistol. "Go!" she shouted to Martha. "Don't stop. Don't look back. Emmeline, go!" Martha went. The children went. And Emmeline stood alone in the snow, facing 2 armed men on horseback. "Well, well." The lead rider pulled up, grinning. "Emmeline Mercer. Aldridge has been waiting a long time for this." "Aldridge is in prison." "Not for long. His friends are working on that." The man dismounted. "See, the thing about rich men is they always have friends, and those friends don't like it when someone upsets the order of things." "I told the truth. That's all I did." "Yeah, that was your mistake." He raised his gun. "Any last words?" Emmeline's mind raced. She needed to buy time. Just a few more minutes for the children to get away. "You won't get away with this." "That's the best you got. Hollister knows who you are. He knows you're coming for me. Kill me and you'll hang." "Maybe, but at least Aldridge will be satisfied." The man cocked his pistol. "Sorry, sweetheart. Nothing personal." A shot rang out. The man staggered. Blood bloomed on his chest. He fell face first into the snow. The second rider spun, searching for the shooter. Another shot. He fell too. Emmeline stood frozen, unable to process what had just happened. A figure emerged from the trees, limping, bleeding, but alive. Josiah. "Papa." Emmeline ran to him. "Papa, you're shot." He grunted. "Twice. But they missed the important parts." "How did you—" "Back door. They weren't watching it." He stumbled and she caught him. "I'm too old for this, Emmeline." "You're not too old. You're exactly old enough." She was laughing and crying at the same time. "You saved me. Again." "That's what fathers do." He leaned against her, his weight almost too much to bear. "Now help me walk. I reckon we've got a long way to go." 3 miles. Could be worse. How? Could be uphill. Despite everything, Emmeline laughed. And together, leaning on each other, they started walking. They made it to town just as dawn was breaking. Hollister met them at the edge of the settlement with a dozen marshals and a surgeon. The children were already there, brought in by Martha, who'd run the last mile herself to get help. "Papa." William broke away from the group and ran to Josiah. "Papa, I thought, takes more than a couple of bullets to kill me, boy." Josiah ruffled his hair weakly. "Though I wouldn't recommend testing that theory." The surgeon took over, leading Josiah away for treatment. Emmeline watched them go, her heart still racing. "The other men," she said to Hollister. "At the cabin." "How many?" "5 total, 3 dead, 2 in custody." Hollister's face was grim. "Your guards fought hard. We lost 1. Another's going to make it." "And Aldridge's men, the ones on horseback?" "Both dead. Your father's work, I presume." "He saved my life. Again." "He's a remarkable man." "He's my father." Hollister nodded. "There's something else you should know. We found documents on one of the men we captured. Plans, communications. This wasn't just revenge, Emmeline. This was an organized attempt to silence you before Aldridge's execution. They wanted to save him. They wanted to stop the other trials. Your testimony is the foundation of a dozen cases. If you die, the whole thing collapses." Emmeline felt cold spread through her chest. "So this isn't over." "It won't be over until every man connected to Aldridge is behind bars." Hollister put his hand on her shoulder. "But today was a victory. You're alive. Your family's alive. And the men who came for you are dead or in chains." "Today was a victory," Emmeline repeated. "And tomorrow we keep fighting." Aldridge was executed 3 weeks later. Emmeline didn't attend. She stayed home with her children, holding them close, trying to feel something other than numbness. "Is it really over?" Hannah asked that evening. "The man who hurt me is gone, but the fight isn't over. Will it ever be?" Emmeline looked at her daughter, at those old young eyes that had seen too much. "I don't know, sweetheart. But I know that as long as there are people like Aldridge in the world, someone needs to stand against them." "Is that why you work with the marshals?" "That's exactly why." Hannah nodded slowly. "I want to help, when I'm older." "Hannah, I'm serious. You taught me that being brave isn't about not being scared. It's about doing what's right even when you are scared." She lifted her chin. "I'm scared, but I still want to help." Emmeline pulled her into a hug. "You already do, sweetheart. Every day." Spring came late that year, but when it came with a vengeance. The snow melted. The creek swelled with runoff. Wildflowers erupted across the meadow in waves of color. And the Mercer family began to plant their first garden. "Tomatoes here," Josiah directed, still moving slowly from his injuries but refusing to sit idle. "Beans there, corn along the back." "That's too much corn," Emmeline said. "There's no such thing as too much corn." Papa, we're 5 adults and 5 children. We don't need an entire field of corn. Then we'll sell the extra, or give it away, or you just want an excuse to make cornbread every night. Josiah grinned. Guilty. The children worked alongside them, getting dirt under their fingernails and sun on their faces. William had grown 3 inches over the winter and was starting to look less like a boy and more like the man he would become. Hannah moved with new confidence, her fears slowly fading. Thomas had stopped having nightmares. Lucy had stopped clinging to Martha every moment of every day. And Sarah, sweet stubborn Sarah, had learned to say, "I love you," in a way that made everyone stop whatever they were doing just to hear it. "I love you, Mama." "I love you too, baby." "I love you, Grandpa." "I love you right back, little one." "I love you, Miss Martha." "Well, isn't that something?" "I love you, William." Okay, we get it. Martha became a permanent fixture in the household. She never officially moved in, but her belongings migrated over one by one until suddenly she was there all the time, and no one could remember when it had been otherwise. "You should just marry her," Emmeline told her father one evening. Josiah choked on his coffee. "What?" "Martha, you should marry her." That's ridiculous. We're too old for..." "You're not too old for anything. And I've seen the way you look at each other." "I don't look at her any particular way." "Papa." Josiah set down his cup. His face had gone red, but there was something else there too. Something vulnerable. "She wouldn't have me." "Have you asked?" "No." "Why not?" "Because..." He stopped, swallowed. "Because I already lost one wife. I don't think I could survive losing another." Emmeline took his hand. "Mama wouldn't want you to be alone. You know that." "I know." "And Martha loves this family. She risked her life for us, multiple times." "I know that too." "So ask her. The worst she can say is no. The worst she can say is, she never wants to speak to me again, and our entire living arrangement becomes awkward." "That's not going to happen." "You don't know that." "Papa." Emmeline squeezed his hand. "Take a chance. You taught me that. When everything seems impossible, you take a chance anyway." Josiah was quiet for a long time. Then he smiled. "When did you get so wise?" "I learned from the best." He proposed the next morning. Martha said yes before he finished the sentence. The wedding was small. Just family Hollister and a few neighbors who'd become friends over the past months. They held it in the meadow behind the cabin, surrounded by wildflowers and the sound of the creek. Josiah wore his best suit, the one he'd been married in the first time, altered to fit his thinner frame. Martha wore a dress Emmeline had helped her make simple but beautiful. "Do you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "I do." "And do you take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?" "I do, though Lord knows I must be crazy." Everyone laughed, even the minister. "Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride." Josiah kissed her, and the children cheered, and somewhere Emmeline was sure her mother was smiling. That summer, the first of the women Emmeline had helped rescue came to visit. Her name was Catherine, and she'd been held in a facility outside Denver, much like the one Emmeline had escaped. The marshals had found her using information from Emmeline's testimony. "I wanted to thank you," Catherine said. She was standing on the porch, thin and nervous, her hands twisting together. "What you did testifying, naming names, it saved my life. I didn't do it alone." "I know, but you started it. You were brave enough to speak first." Catherine's voice broke. "I was in that place for 2 years. I thought I'd die there. And then the marshals came and they told me about you, about what you'd survived. And I knew I wasn't alone anymore." Emmeline pulled her into a hug. "You were never alone, even when it felt like it." "I know that now." They talked for hours, about the facility, about survival, about the long, slow process of healing. And when Catherine left, she left with hope in her eyes that hadn't been there when she arrived. "How many is that now?" Josiah asked that evening. "How many what? Women you've helped?" Emmeline thought about it. 17, directly. More indirectly through the trials. 17 lives saved. 17 lives changed. I don't know about saved. Seems like the same thing to me. Fall arrived with its usual blaze of color. The harvest was good, too much corn, just as Josiah had planned, and the family prepared for their second winter in the new cabin. On the anniversary of the night Emmeline had returned, they gathered around the fire, just as they had that first night. "1 year," Josiah said. "Hard to believe." "It feels longer," Emmeline admitted. "It feels shorter." William was sitting between his mother and grandfather, his growing legs stretched toward the warmth. "I can barely remember what life was like before you came back." "That's probably for the best." "I remember," Hannah said quietly. "I remember being angry all the time. At you for leaving. At Papa, I mean at Grandpa for not finding you. At everyone. And now I'm not angry anymore." Hannah looked at her mother. "Now I understand." "Understand what?" "That sometimes people don't have choices. That sometimes things happen that are nobody's fault. That," she stopped searching for words, "that loving someone means forgiving them for things they couldn't control." Emmeline felt tears prick her eyes. "When did you get so wise?" "I learned from the best." The words echoed what Emmeline had said to her father months ago. And in that echo she heard something else. Something deeper. Family. Legacy. The passing of wisdom from one generation to the next. This was what Aldridge had tried to destroy. This was what all the violence and fear and hate had been aimed at. Not just her body or her life, but this connection, this love, this unbreakable bond between parent and child. And they had failed. "I love you all," Emmeline said. "Every single one of you. No matter what happens, no matter where life takes us, that will never change." "We love you too, Mama," Sarah said. She was 5 now, no longer a toddler, but a little girl with opinions and preferences, and a fierce determination that reminded Emmeline of herself. "Forever and ever," Thomas added. "And ever," Lucy chimed in. "And ever and ever and ever." Hannah finished laughing. Josiah reached across and took Martha's hand. Martha was smiling, the firelight dancing in her eyes. "This is it," Josiah said quietly. "This is what we fought for. This is what matters." "What's that?" William asked. "This moment, this family. Being together, safe and warm, with nothing to fear and no one to run from." He looked around at all of them. "I spent 4 years as a ghost walking through life without living it, and now I'm alive again. Thanks to all of you." "Thanks to Mama," William said. "Thanks to everyone." Josiah's voice was thick. "We all saved each other. That's what families do." The fire crackled. The wind whispered against the windows. And outside, the first snow of winter began to fall. Years later, when people asked Emmeline Mercer how she survived 4 years of captivity, she would tell them the truth. "I had something to come back to." When they asked how she found the courage to testify, she would tell them that too. "I had something worth fighting for." And when they asked what advice she would give to other women, other survivors, other people trapped in darkness, she would lean in close and say, "Never give up, never stop fighting, and never ever forget that you are not alone. There is always someone who loves you. There is always something worth living for. And there is always hope, even when you can't see it." That was the legacy of Emmeline Mercer. Not the trials, not the testimony, not the dozens of women she helped rescue over the years that followed. Her legacy was this: a family rebuilt from ashes, a father who never stopped believing, 5 children who learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it, and a love so fierce that no darkness could ever extinguish it. Josiah Mercer lived another 12 years. He died peacefully in his bed, surrounded by his family with Martha holding his hand. His last words were to Emmeline. "I'm proud of you," he whispered. "I've always been proud of you." "I know, Papa," she said through her tears. "I know." And she did, because some truths don't need to be spoken. They're written in every sacrifice, every choice, every moment spent fighting for the people you love. Josiah Mercer had lived that truth every day of his life, and his daughter would carry it forward long after he was gone. The cabin still stands today, passed down through generations of Mercers. The meadow still blooms with wildflowers every spring. And every year on the anniversary of the night Emmeline came home, the family gathers to remember. They remember the darkness, but they don't dwell in it. They remember the fear, but they don't let it control them. And they remember the love, the fierce, unbreakable, unconditional love that saved them all. Because that's what families do. They survive, they fight, they heal, and they never ever give up on each other.